Out of all the movies that released in 2023, I might as well talk about this one first. As long as it doesn't have an existential crisis, we should be fine. Five Nights at Freddy's. Yes, I'm well aware of this franchise up until this point. From what was a point-and-click survival horror game from 2014, became a phenomenon and kickstarted the franchise. Games, novels, and a mountain load of merchandises, and even a movie. All from a man named Scott Cawthon. I was interested in the franchise, especially how deep the lore is. But understanding FNAF as a whole is like understanding Kingdom Hearts, convoluted. So I didn't want to spend 5 years trying to understand one particular video game franchise, but I still respect it. Even though I'm not going to understand everything, FNAF is going to be those franchises I'm going to look back from time to time. And honestly, it's kind of entertaining when you watch someone else play the games on YouTube. It's kind of funny.
See you on the flip side.
Ah, fuck you! Oh god! What the f***? What the f***? Okay? Not okay!
So the fact they made a movie out of it, I think it's fair to say that it makes sense. Even though I really wasn't sold on it, it's really cool to see FNAF getting its own movie adaptation, and it actually looks really promising. Except for the teaser. There's something about red eyes in these animatronics that feel really cheap, and I just don't know why. But anyway, it was looking really good, and the movie released on October 27th. While it did well with the audience, it didn't do too well with the critics at the same time. With the biggest issue being the plot. I didn't want to watch the movie at first, but I heard a few people saying that it was bad, and I don't want to jump into conclusions really quickly. So I decided to watch it anyway. And yeah, it really wasn't that good. After watching, I only had 3 big problems with this movie, and at this point I might as well get down to it. Problem number 1, the plot. Look, the story works, and I like how this movie takes place during the events of the first game, which is really cool. The problem is that the fact they made some weird decisions in the process. Like William Afton's daughter. In the games, his daughter is Elizabeth, and when she was a kid, she gets killed off by a circus baby. In the movie, his daughter is a cop named Vanessa. What? I really never knew why they made this decision. And apparently she started this whole child murdering shtick, but the movie really never explained to us how and why. And then there's the custody side story of the movie. So there's this woman named Jane, and she'll do anything in her power to take custody of Mike's sister, Abby. But she really doesn't care about her and just wants the adoption checks. And then there's the dream sequences, which I'll get to that in a minute. And there were so many other problems I had with the plot. But overall, the plot works for a video game adaptation, and it would have been so much better if it weren't for these weird decisions. Problem number 2, is this really a horror movie? I mean, there were some parts of the movie that made me shook, like Balloon Boy has an overbite now. And there is gore, but they don't show it often. They either show it, show a little, or just cut it away entirely. It's not that I'm a big fan of gore or anything, but for a franchise that's well known for killer animatronics, you think you would take that to a whole new level. But sadly, they didn't. And I noticed while watching that the movie can change tones from time to time. Like, you went from animatronics killing people to befriending a random little girl and building a fort. What? At that point, I might as well just stop watching this movie. Like, why is this necessary? Who thought this was a good idea? If there was one reason why this movie is so bad, it would be this scene right here. But again, there are moments where it made me shook a little, but I wish they were more consistent with the tone they're trying to use here. And finally, problem number 3, the dream sequences. Look, it's fine to have backstory for your character, and dream sequences or flashbacks is a way to deliver it. But if you keep repeating it over and over again throughout the whole movie with the same dream or flashback, you're going to lose me. This is the biggest problem I have with this movie. Like, we get it, Mike's little brother gets kidnapped, but why do you need to show it more often? It kinda make this movie somewhat boring. It's like when I watched Eternals for the first time, but I stopped watching because there were some moments that dragged on too long for me. For this one, I was lucky enough to watch it in one sitting. When there was a dream sequence that dragged for too long, I just get bored and patiently waited for the next scene. Especially for the last sequence, I was just begging for it to move on. I understand why they did it the first 2 times, but the rest felt like they were just filling up the runtime. But even with the problems I have with this movie, I did manage to find some positive things about it. First off, I love the animatronics. They're really well built and pretty faithful to the source material. And I love the set design of the pizzeria. It looks really good actually. I love how they have Corey Kenshin into the movie, even if it's just a small cameo. The entire cast overall is decent. There's really nothing much to write home about. And I really liked the last 30 minutes of the movie. That actually had me entertained. But the movie overall is not good, at least for a horror movie. But as an adaptation, it does the games justice. So hopefully things will get better in a sequel. But for now, I'm keeping my expectations to a medium. On the scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving Five Nights at Freddy's a 5.7. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know in the comments what movie do you want me to talk about next. But for now, I gotta get ready for the holidays.